Hello everyone, let's have more news about the Warriors. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. The Golden State Warriors entered the offseason looking to upgrade their roster around their star trio of Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green as they try to chase a championship next season. Unfortunately for the Warriors, they have yet to make a move in free agency, and they also lost veteran center Kevon Looney as he signed with the New Orleans Pelicans. This is a major loss for the Warriors as they are in desperate need of an upgrade at the center position, which is an area of their roster that they have struggled with over the last handful of seasons. Golden State has also missed out on many of the big name centers in the free agency market as Miles Turner, Brook Lopez, and Clint Capella have all been scooped up by other teams around the NBA. Despite this, Golden State has been linked to Boston Celtics champion center Al Horford as a potential upgrade to their front court, and it appears as though Horford is nearing a decision after a report was released on Wednesday. According to ClutchPoint's Brett Siegel, the Warriors have been in talks with Horford over the last couple of days, and Horford could make a decision as early as Wednesday night. Of course, Horford has also drawn interest from other teams around the league, including the Los Angeles Lakers, who, like the Warriors, are also in desperate need of a center. Horford would be a solid addition to the Warriors roster as he would give them a veteran big man who can space the floor and is also a great rebounder. Last season in Boston, the 39-year-old averaged 9.0 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 2.1 assists per game, while shooting 42.3% from the field and 36.3% from three. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like.
Warriors offseason rolls on, and the biggest domino has yet to fall in the Jonathan Kuminga saga. Will he remain in Golden State? Will he be elsewhere? On today's show, we have a major update concerning his future. Plus, on the back end, I know you guys saw the thumbnail. We're going to talk about Damian Lillard and his potential signing with the Warriors after he was waived by Milwaukee. All that and more in just a moment, but this is why you subscribe to the channel. When we hear Jonathan Kuminga news, we make a video. This is the biggest thing of the Warriors offseason. It feels like the biggest story of the NBA offseason at this point in time. So whenever we hear an update, we're going to bring you guys a video. Subscribe and turn your notifications on so you never miss a beat and you know exactly when we post a video here at Warriors Today. And we are also very close to our next milestone of 97,000 subscribers. I just need 238 diehard Dubs fans to go down below and hit that big red sub button because this is 100% free Warriors coverage all offseason long. Okay, so originally we did hear from Brett Siegel of Clutch Points this little nugget concerning Kuminga and his future and the teams that are potentially interested in his free agency prospects. Although the Heat and Bulls are still at the mix right now at the start of free agency, the Sacramento Kings have seemed to be the substitute themselves in place of the Nets as a prime Kuminga destination. Sam Amick of The Athletic was the first to report on Sacramento entering the mix for the Warriors forward. And I'm not going to lie, over the past few days, I've kind of had the feeling that Kuminga to Sacramento feels a little bit more likely than it does to Miami, Chicago, or any other team that might have some interest. Now, Sam Amick on the original report did say, if you guys remember that big chunky L3 that we had on the show a couple weeks ago, or last week, I guess, that it's unlikely that Kuminga ends up in Sacramento to this point. But then we heard a couple more news nuggets about Kuminga and Sacramento's interest and what exactly could be involved in a Kuminga sign and trade. As Mark Stein reported this on the Steinline Substack, saying sources say that Sacramento, meanwhile, would be interested in including Malik Monk in any outgoing trade package, but nothing substantial has yet materialized with the Warriors. Malik Monk? I mean, come on. Lacob, Dunleavy, what are we doing, boys? Malik Monk is way better than Jonathan Kuminga as a basketball player. I said it. You guys can tell me in the comments section. Malik Monk is way better than Jonathan Kuminga. He's a much better shot maker. I'd argue he's a much better shot taker, even though Malik Monk can get a little wild with the strap from time to time. But this is a guy who absolutely has the range to be able to do that. Look, has he been the most efficient in a three-point shooter in his career? No, but this is on pretty high volumes throughout his time in Sacramento, LA, bouncing around the league in a couple of different spots, Charlotte as well. This is a guy who put up 17 points per game last year. Also really increased his level of play on the decision-making end as well. Really had to step in and be the point guard for Sacramento in the home stretch of the season after they traded away De'Aaron Fox. And then, a guy like Jonathan Kuminga is the complete opposite of a Malik Monk. Like, bad three-point shooter on low volume, and he's not a good decision maker with the ball in his hands. He doesn't see the floor very well. He's not a good passer, not a good dribbler, not a good shooter, not a good rebounder. So there's just not a lot of pros, in my opinion, to Jonathan Kuminga's game, especially when you consider the fit in Golden State's offense. I think Malik Monk fits way better as a shot creator, kind of instant offense type of guy. And we know in the postseason, Golden State did not have enough instant offense, even when Kuminga was putting up solid stat lines against the Minnesota Timberwolves. But as far as how a trade would go down, I don't think Sacramento would necessarily sign Kuminga to a deal that would make a one-for-one with Malik Monk really possible. You would have to probably make it around like a $36 million a year contract, and there's a zero chance that Kuminga is getting that at this point because Malik Monk makes just under $19 million. So you would have to include a little bit more from Golden State's end salary-wise in order to get a deal done, which would probably include a guy like Buddy Hield. Then Jonathan Kuminga signs an agreement with Sacramento in the realm of about $23 million potentially in the first season of the deal. Maybe it averages out to like a 3 for 75 kind of situation. Kuminga sees $25 million to play in Sacramento and is able to kind of spread his wings and see more opportunity to be an offensive creator for himself. It would suck to see Buddy Hield go, as he's huge in the locker room, has a great relationship with Steph, with Jimmy, with Draymond. So it would suck to see him go, but you're getting another high-volume three-point shooter and a guy who could do a little bit more with the ball in his hands in Malik Monk. Not a great defender, but I think you get the best overall player back in this trade if you're Golden State. So would you make the trade? Let me know in the comment section. A for accept, D for decline on whether or not you would accept Malik Monk heading to Golden State for a Kuminga in a sign and trade with Buddy Hield thrown in there to match the salaries. A for accept, D for decline. Let me know what you think. I'm accepting this trade, man. Like I said, you get the best player back in the deal and a player who I think fits Golden State's system a lot better than Jonathan Kuminga. Now, you lose Buddy Hield. That sucks, but necessary evils in this situation. Plus, when you make this deal, Golden State becomes a little bit more flexible with what they can do signing the rest of the crop of free agents that are out there on the market. Now, I do want to mention that the Sacramento thing is not set in stone right now. There are still teams out there that are interested or reportedly interested in Jonathan Kuminga per Mark Stein, and Siegel kind of alluded to this as well. Miami and Chicago. Anthony Slater reported right before free agency started that those are the two teams that are most likely to engage in a trade for Jonathan Kuminga. Now, the Bulls, they just went out there and drafted Noah Asenge, a little bit of a project wing, traded for Isaac Okoro as well. So how easy does Kuminga fit into the equation there? And there's also been nothing for the Bulls side of things that they are pursuing a Kuminga sign and trade at this point. Miami, on the other hand, they are in a position to be able to make something happen, but I don't really love their prospects as far as what we could get back in a one-for-one sign and trade with Miami. So I'm a little hesitant there, even though they are definitely one of the more realistic suitors out of this bunch. New Orleans, I'm not so sure that they have the cap flexibility in order to make a Kuminga contract work. I would love to see if you could get a Herb Jones back from New Orleans, but that doesn't seem all too likely at this point. And then we've talked about Sacramento and their willingness to involve Malik Monk in a package for Jonathan Kuminga. I'd be all over that at this point. And it seems like at this current time, it is the Heat or the Kings for Kuminga. I'm kind of canceling out Chicago at this point. It just doesn't seem like there's much legs there. I don't know how interested Golden State is in pursuing any of the players that they have outside of Kobe White. And who knows if Chicago would even be willing to do that, even though they're trying to move off of White at this point. New Orleans, again, just doesn't seem like all that realistic financially. So it seems like it's the Heat or the Kings. And honestly, I'm looking to get that Malik Monk package. Pause. The Heat things, like I don't necessarily know what you're going to get back outside of a Kyle Anderson and a Jaime Jaquez package. So doesn't really intrigue me there. Malik Monk is easily the big fish you can get back for Kuminga. And then once you make the deal, you got a couple of exceptions you can work with. Will you still have the non-taxpayer mid-level? I think you probably will, moving off of the Buddy Hield deal as well. So you create a little bit of financial flexibility here. The biannual exception, $5 million. Could you get Al Horford to agree to that? I don't think so at this point. So maybe they have to use the non-tax on Al Horford because Brook Lopez got $9 million a year. Looney got $8 million a year. Like, center money is kind of crazy this offseason for these old guys. But I think Horford's better than all of them. He can easily command $10 million. Maybe Golden State has to use it on their non-tax. But then you could sign a lower-level guy for the biannual exception. You have a trade exception. I would be looking to the Boston Celtics as well in that avenue as well. Maybe you pick up a guy like George Niang who can help your outside shooting prospects a little bit more as well. This 2.2 trade exception, it's not going to really matter too much. You can't do much there. Second round picks, obviously Will Richard and Alex Tui, and then any vet minimum signings that they do thereafter. So hopefully Golden State will have a little bit of flexibility after making a Jonathan Kuminga to Sacramento trade for Malik Monk, and we look at a much more cohesive roster heading into 25-26. Now, we'll talk about the Dame stuff in just a moment. Make sure you guys get hooked up with the Warriors 2025 playoff shirt that is now on a massive sale. It was $35, now it's $18, basically half off. And you can get it at this link right here, chatsports.com/win4bay. I always like rocking the playoff shirts each year, and then this is a pretty solid one as well. So I would consider copping it, and you can too with this link right here, chatsports.com/win4bay. I put it in the comment section and description of today's video as well, so you guys can get hooked up with some 2025 Warriors playoff merch. That was a pretty good run as well. All right, this is what The Athletic had to say about Damian Lillard as he was waived and stretched by the Milwaukee Bucks. $22.5 million will go on the Milwaukee Bucks over the next 5 seasons as Lillard will enter free agency and get paid. Not surprisingly, league sources say Lillard received calls from several contending teams quickly after the news of his Bucks ending broke. League sources say the Golden State Warriors, Boston Celtics, and Los Angeles Lakers are known to be among the many teams that would have interest in doing a deal sooner rather than later, and that's interesting to me. Now, there have not been any reports that Dame wants to sign at all and spend time with an NBA franchise over the next season while he's rehabbing his torn Achilles. So it's still up in the air as to whether or not he will be on any team at all this upcoming season. But I have a good feeling that Golden State would have a pretty decent shot. Now, I do think it's a little interesting that a lot of teams are dying to get Lillard signed. This seems a little weird that he's such a hot commodity right now, given that he won't be on the basketball court at really all next season. I know there was some speculation that he'll be available after the All-Star break. So we'll see if that ends up materializing, but I highly doubt that he sees the floor next season. And he is 34 years old. It's a high likelihood that he'll not play basketball, if at all, until age 36. So very interesting here. Now, maybe the reason that teams are chomping at the bit to sign Dame is because they believe that they can get him an agreement on a 2-year deal potentially, because he is getting paid $22.5 million by the Bucks over the next 5 seasons. So would Dame agree to a 2-year, maybe $10 million contract for some of these teams? You could even, I would say that he signs a vet minimum deal, at least for this season. Maybe there's some sort of player or team option in year 2 that gets him playing on a low salary for one of these contending teams, and he could hopefully come back at a decent level of play and contribute to a winner and make a championship run. Now, if he signs for 1 year, I think it'll end up being with the Golden State Warriors. Think about it. Damian Lillard is a Bay Area native, an Oakland guy, and he wouldn't have to travel much to see his family and be with all those people out there in the Bay Area. And he could go work with Rick Celebrini, who's one of the most highly touted medical professionals across the entire association. So he would be in a good spot for rehab. It doesn't necessarily have to always be with the Warriors. He could be working with his own doctors and stuff like that, but just have that extra level of protection and advisory by the Golden State Warriors medical staff, which has been, very, very respected around the NBA. So we'll see if he ends up doing a deal. But again, we do have the big domino to fall. Nothing can happen, even with the Damian Lillard signing, until the Jonathan Kuminga stuff is sorted out. So it's a waiting game for Golden State right now. They are prepared for this to go pretty long, but I'm not so prepared for it to go, any longer than it really has to, because Golden State needs to make moves, and the free agency well is drying up. So a deal needs to be agreed upon here in the next few days, or Golden State's going to be looking at scraps to round out their roster and make moves on the margins. So with that being said, should the Warriors sign Damian Lillard here? I don't know if they can get it done before the Kuminga stuff. I highly doubt it, but you let me know. If it's a vet minimum deal, I would be super down. Why for yes and for no. Let me know what you guys think about Dame time coming to the Bay Area. That will do it for today's edition of Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Lock us in and subscribe, because if Dame signs or if Kuminga's traded, we're bringing you a video immediately. We might even go live if a Kuminga trade goes down in the next couple of days. So lock us in, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys all in the next one.
That is not an internal player this free agency. Al Horford, former Celtic, former Hawk, former 76er, NBA champion with the Celtics, bringing that pedigree to the Warriors who are champions. Is this the move that we wanted? No, but we've done nothing over 3 days. We're still waiting on Kuminga, and I have an update on Kuminga, the potential trade with that team up north, purple, the Kings. But Al Horford, folks, center at 6'9", another Warriors prototypical center, right? Wow, big guy, let's go. 39 years old. Warriors are only getting older after trading for Jimmy. You know what? Let's trade Let's sign somebody bigger. Al Horford. Fair enough. In his prime, he fits the Warriors well. Can switch multiple positions. Can shoot three. Can play some solid defense. But he's 39, folks. Is he going to be a game changer? No, he's not. And like and subscribe to Warriors Digest so you don't miss anything. We've been giving you 4 or 5 videos a day, breaking down trade rumors, kind of have to, free agency, whatnot. He's been all over the league, folks. Again, been with Boston. He's durable, which is good. Can be a nice backup if Draymond gets himself suspended or T, which he did a better job last season. 9 points, shot 36% from three, has been closer to 40. So that does mean he can space the floor, that type of player the Warriors do like at the big man position. But he's not a traditional big man. So it does hurt the Warriors. Since I did the update last night, Spencer Dinwiddie has signed, and Dante Exum, has signed with Mavericks. Dinwiddie with the Hornets. Trey Mann, Hornets. So not a lot is happening on the NBA Warriors front. What could happen though, folks, and we'll get back to Horford in a second, and just if you want to see the report, per Ari, expected to sign with the Warriors. Potentially, the report out there is the Kings would be interested in including Malik Monk in the trade package for Jonathan Kuminga. Sources say that Sacramento, meanwhile, would be interested in including Malik Monk in any outgoing trade package. Nothing substantial has materialized in the Warriors, so they want him out. Malik Monk would be a great scorer off the bunch for us. If you look at Malik Monk, folks, I've always liked him. He's been a Warrior killer a couple of times. 17 points last season, of course, with De'Aaron Fox being traded. He had to take more scoring. Was pretty healthy the past 3 seasons, 65-plus games. He could be a great scorer off the bench. Free throws, high 80s, three-point, 35. He's more of that DeMar DeRozan type of mid-range player, explosive. How old is he now? 27. So just coming into his prime, he could be someone you could count on off the bench. Because right now, if you have, coming off the bench, Pajemski or Moody, where's your scoring punch going to come from? The non-Steph minutes. Yeah, Jimmy can't do the same he used to. That is where you need Malik Monk to really help you out. What is Malik Monk's contract? Malik Monk, ESPN contract. Contract. 1 second. Sorry, should have had it ready to go. You all know I usually do. Malik Monk's contract, $18 million, $20 million. So if you don't think JK is the future and he's more of an all-around player than Malik Monk, you need someone who's more scoring, come off the bench, maybe can start in situations as well, definitely can start, then Malik Monk can be your guy. If JK is trying to get $20 million a year, the Kings think he's worth it, pair him with Dennis Schroeder, who is on the Warriors. You got Sabonis, you got Zach LaVine. Then you know what? That's a nice pairing up in Sacramento. You can make that trade work. Maybe there's some draft picks and maybe a smaller player or two. But if you think JK is $15 million a year, you could do that as a Warrior and King to make that work. So question, folks, is would you be down for Malik Monk for Jonathan Kuminga? Because right here it says, hey, this could work. Jake Fisher done a nice job. Also, by the way, former Warriors assistant coach Mike Brown most likely going to the Knicks. Yes, the Knicks, folks. The Knicks. Also, DeAndre Ayton, Lakers picking up speed. Bucks, DeAndre Ayton with Miles Turner and Giannis. That's a tall team. So this has been a pretty busy free agency, folks. If we look at what we got going on, Hawks been busy. Got KP in the trade, of course. What's going to happen with Trae Young? Celtics basically got rid of their team, got under the salary cap issues. Nets getting younger. MPJ, buy Cam Johnson, who we should have got. Hornets, what's going to happen with LaMelo? They're trying to tool a little bit. Bulls stayed pat. Cleveland basically bringing back the same team. Dallas, of course, have got much better through the draft with Cooper Flagg. Kyrie Irving, what happens when he comes back? D'Angelo Russell will be that point guard. Till then, Nuggets have got much better. They bring back Bruce Brown, Cam Johnson coming in the trade for MPJ, a better scorer, better wing player. Detroit, best team last year in terms of where they were the year before, 2 years ago, and last year most upgraded on wins, looking to continue to get better. Warriors, folks. No re-signing. No additions. One departure. And then you got the Rockets. Wow. KD, Capella, Dorian Finney-Smith, they're loaded. And they bring back basically other players besides the trade. Green and Brooks. Wow. They've done a great job. Pacers lost Turner, and they lost RIP. So sad. I wanted to see him go off in the playoffs. In the finals, Tyrese Halliburton. So sad. Game 7. He went off in the playoffs, though. 4 game winners. Unreal. Clippers got better with Brook Lopez. Harden returning. Lakers, LBJ comes in. Apparently Aiden potentially. Trying to get more shooting. A little bit younger. Memphis re-signing Jaren Jackson Jr. for the mass extension. Tyrone Jones, KCP, Cole Anthony, more scoring. Heat haven't really done much. Bucks, of course, big time letting Damian Lillard go. Bye-bye. Bringing in Miles Turner. Bringing back key pieces like Bobby Portis, Kevin Porter Jr. They've done well. T-Wolves bringing back Randall is big. He didn't leave. Nas Reed coming back. 5-year deal got paid. Pelicans, massive trade. McCollum, gone. Bruce Brown, gone. In Looney, thank you for your service with the Warriors. We'll make a video about that when all this is done. Jordan Poole. Knicks need to get a head coach. But bringing in Clarkson, scoring off the bench is big. And Yabusele, I really like him as a player. He'll be a nice roster addition. OKC, standing pat. Shea, congratulations. Richest deal in NBA history. Magic, trying to get a bit better with Bane, which they do. 76ers, staying pat. Can they stay healthy this year? Suns, the big trade, of course. Bye, KD. Hello, Brooks and Green. Retooling around Devin Booker. Portland, bringing in Drew Holiday again. We'll see if he stays. Kings, some small moves here and there. Spurs, they made their big move getting De'Aaron Fox. If him and Wemby can play together, they'll be fine. Raptors making a couple of smaller moves. Jazz getting Nurkic. Other than that, haven't done much. Got rid of Sexton and Clarkson, or they walked away. Wizards, again, we talked about the trade. So what does that leave the Warriors NBA free agency list? Where does that lead the free trackers? Again, we've been giving you guys updates. If we look at centers, which apparently we're getting Al Horford, we're calling him a center, not a lot is there. Aiden's your biggest guy. I see people say Bull. He's just going to get beat in the paint. Yeah, he's nice. We'll get you some blocks and chase downs, but you need some big bodies. And there's not a lot of big bodies left who are a free agent. Now, again, you look at Kuminga. Is he getting 20, 25 million? I don't know. However, not a lot of stuff is still out there unless you make a trade. So maybe that's where the Malik Monk trade is good. Folks, I want you to comment your thoughts. Please comment your thoughts, like, subscribe, and of course, we'll keep you updated on anything that happens in Warriors land.
It has been a slow offseason thus far for the Golden State Warriors, despite them looking to upgrade their roster around their star trio of Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. Golden State began their offseason by selecting Alex Tuhey and Will Richard in the second round of the 2025 NBA draft. Since then, the Warriors have yet to make any other moves despite free agency beginning on Monday night. Instead, Golden State lost veteran center Kevin Looney as he signed in free agency with the New Orleans Pelicans, decimating the Warriors' front court even more. It has been reported that Golden State is in talks with Al Horford to sign him in free agency, but with many other teams interested in the champion from the Boston Celtics, they may have to turn elsewhere to upgrade their roster. On Wednesday, a report by Clutch Point's Brett Siegel mentioned another player the Warriors could target this offseason to bolster their roster. That player is Pelicans forward Herbert Jones, who Siegel reported the Warriors would have interest in if New Orleans makes him available this summer. Jones would be a solid addition to the Warriors roster, as he is a great 3-and-D wing, though he has struggled with injuries during his career. Last season, the 26-year-old guard averaged 10.3 points, 3.9 rebounds, 3.3 assists, and 1.9 steals per game, while shooting 43.6% from the field and 30.6% from three-point range in only 20 games due to injury. With the Warriors needing forward depth, acquiring Jones would be a massive boost to their roster, though the Pelicans have shown no interest in trading him this offseason. Even if New Orleans does end up making Jones available, they will likely want a large return due to his age and defensive abilities, and because of that, Golden State may not be able to afford him. And you, fan, what do you think about Herb Jones' situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.